Ex-husband ghosts ex-wife. Racks up a huge bill. He clearly didn't think things through. My compliance was malicious for the ex-husband. I'm working in the billing queue in a call center for one of big three telcos, and a client calls in regarding a billing concern. This lady calls in, is puzzled by why she got charged a one-time fee $49 for a wireless access point. It's Gen 1 equipment for wireless set-top boxes for optic TV. She's even more puzzled. Why would she have that charge when she doesn't have TV services from us? And I inform she does. It started more or less a month ago. She's disputing that because optic TV isn't available in her area. Now I'm confused. She lives in a small town, and there's no optic TV there. I do a little digging and find out that someone, no ex-husband, was still her on account and got 3-year contract to get a free TV for optic TV and internet. She begins to cry on the phone and tells me her now ex-husband had an affair with a younger woman, divorced her, milked her for as much as he could, and apparently still is milking her for more. He totally ghosted her, moved to Alberta, changed his email, phone number, blocked her on all social media, etc. In my mind, I'm like, what a jerk. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry if you cancel the services you're on hook to pay for cancellation fees and so on. I can tell her though, I can remove his access to your account, and you can also add on a password, downgrade the internet and TV to the bare essentials, and I can attempt to redirect the TV gift from his address to hers, but there's no guarantee as it's been processed already. I can hear the light going off in her head. Wait, what? You have where he's living at now? Why, yes. He's got TV and internet services, so there's a service address. She goes really quiet, says her lawyer and herself have been trying to track him down, but his family and friends are being tight-lipped about it. She asks if I'm allowed to give that info to her. I smile and reply, this is your account. You have unrestricted access for service address, phone numbers, emails that your now ex-husband provided to us to get hooked up. She asks that I can give her his new address, his new cell number, and the second number left on the account, presumably the new woman, and contact info over the phone right now. I asked if she had a pen and paper handy. She was so ecstatic. And after giving her all the details from her account regarding the second service address, downgrade everything, and he was a hockey fan and there was a game playing right now with his team. So I wish I could have been a fly on the wall when the game cuts out and he calls in to ask WTF and discovers he's been removed, and there's an account pin and he's been discovered by his ex-wife and lawyer. Kentucky passes law that all schools must have "In God We Trust" displayed. School district complies. The new law is required as a result of legislation filed by State Representative Brandon Reed, a Republican minister from Hodgenville. It said in part that beginning in the 2019 to 2020 school year, local boards shall require each public elementary and secondary school to display the national motto of the United States, "In God We Trust," in a prominent location in the school. Fayette Superintendent Manny Koch said Wednesday afternoon that in complying with the new law, all schools in our district have been provided a framed version of an enlarged copy of a $1 bill to display in a prominent location. Police officer attempted to intimidate my patient, loses fight to physics. I'm a paramedic. A few months ago, we're coming back from a routine patient transfer when at an intersection about 4 blocks from the base, I notice a woman sitting on the side of the road with her arms wrapped around herself and her head down. I nudge my partner who's driving, and we flip on the lights and I see her head come up real fast, and she looks terrified. I get out and she relaxes when she sees the ambulance. After I approach, I notice bruising on her wrists and other similar signs of domestic abuse. She seems hesitant to get up off the curb and into the ambulance, so I decided that I would at least pull the cot out of the back and give her something a little more comfortable than concrete to sit on. Now a few important details. All the cots in my service are striker-powered cots. You've almost certainly seen these before. They're bright yellow with black handles and side panels. These cots have a motor and battery built in to allow us to raise and lower the cot at the touch of a button instead of throwing out our backs having to physically lift the cot up after loading someone. They're usually paired with an automatic loading system built into the ambulance that lifts the cot up to the right height to be pushed inside and also secures the cot when loaded. There's a little red tab at the end of the track, just inside the doors, that you press down to free the cot and allow it to slide out. When you press this tab, It simply releases the cot and the loading carriage it's connected to, and it's up to you to keep it under control until it reaches the unload position and locks into place again. This can be problematic because these cots weigh about 125 pounds, about 55 kilograms. As soon as I hit the release tab for the cot, I hear lights and sirens behind me. It's a city police car, which is weird because we had not yet requested police, and we were outside the city, in the sheriff's department jurisdiction. We merely informed dispatch that we were stopping to check on a woman at such and such intersection. The woman says something along the lines of, "Oh God, he's here," and moves faster than me, seeing free food being distributed at base. She dashes past me and pretty much hurls herself into the ambulance, sitting on the bench seat. The cop is approaching and he's pissed. I put 2 and 2 together and slam the ambulance doors shut. Let's call this officer Police Officer Steve, or POS for short. POS, is that Bai? Is she in there? Me? Who? POS, you know damn well who I am talking about. Me? You mean my patient? I'm afraid I haven't gotten a name yet. POS, open those doors, I need to talk to her. Me? You're not using my rig as an interview room. You can talk to her at the hospital. We go back and forth like this for a few minutes. My partner at some point came back to see what the holdup was, but overheard my stonewalling and went back to the cab to call our chief. I continue my routine of deny and delay until a pair of deputies, likely specifically requested for this by the chief, arrive. Oh good, now I have witnesses. See, we had stopped on an upwards incline. I had hit the release tab on the cot and it wanted to slide back. I had to close the doors so swiftly, I didn't bother pushing the cot back against the stops and locking it in place. Emboldened by the presence of 2 deputies, he gets in my face. Get out of my way, or I'm gonna have to charged with obstruction. Okay, I step out of his way, and he opens the double doors. Between the cot, the monitor, and the jump bag, I'd say there was probably close to 160 pounds contained by those doors, all of which comes barreling out and hits POS square in the chest. He goes backwards and falls on his ass. One of the deputies laughs aloud. The other walks up and kneels down beside the guy. He says, "Your shift captain is going to be here in 5. I wouldn't be here then if I were you." POS gathers himself up and scowls at me, then stomps off. There is a limited amount that I can say about the aftermath as the trial is not settled yet, but we all know how well charges stick to cops. The woman is now living elsewhere, the cop is still a cop, and I have been getting pulled over at least twice a week ever since then. But the video footage of him getting body checked by that cot remains one of the best things I have seen. Edit. For clarification, yes, the woman is married to POS. And yes, he is allegedly responsible for the abuse. Apartment manager doesn't take cash for 0.02 bill. Malicious compliance ensues. In 2019, I moved from an apartment complex in Celebration, Florida, to a condo. As usual, when you move out of an apartment, you get a final bill, which includes your last month's prorated rent, deductions for damages, security deposit refunds, and the like. We paid it. The next month, I get a call from my wife who says we've got a follow-up bill in the mail from the apartment management company for 0.02. We're both in the tech field, so we laughed that this company's IT department didn't catch the edge case of spending 0.50 in postage to collect 0.02 in revenue. But it happens. My wife prints out a copy of the bill. I grab 2 cents from the change jar. The apartment complex is on my daily drive, so I swing by the office. I walk in and tell the manager that I want to pay my last bill. I say it's 2 cents. Here's the bill, and I have the 2 cents if you want it. The manager says, "We don't take cash." Nothing else. There was an awkward pause. I say, "I don't expect you to take cash. I expect us both to have a laugh about how silly computer systems are, and for you to write off the 2 cents because it'd cost you more to process the payment." She says, "I'm not going to do that." Again, awkward pause. I say, "So you want me to write you a check for 2 cents and mail it? And you're going to process that check?" The manager says, "Yes, send us a check and we'll process it," and then walks back into her office to end the conversation. So I go home and set up an automatic, monthly bank payment to my apartment complex for 3 cents. And then, because I'm a programmer, I write some code to send a letter once per month saying, I'm so sorry. I've overpaid my bill. Please send me a check for the overpayment. And I use an online service that sends postcards in ridiculous sizes, up to around 18 inches by 24 inches, figuring that'll be my escalation strategy. The first of the next month, I get a call from the apartment company's regional manager. After introducing himself, the next 2 minutes were the most sincere. "Oh God, we made a mistake. Please don't do this. We'll never contact you again. Apology anyone could have hoped for." I stopped the mail and never heard from them again. Did I spend several hours on MC for 2 cents? Yes. Was it worth it? Absolutely. Ex's divorce lawyer. Send 3 years of complete financials or else. Me, as you wish. This happened several years ago when my ex and I were going through a heated divorce/custody battle. While we were married, we had a couple of conversations about how rich people hide their assets to avoid paying taxes. I've never had enough assets to do this, but she somehow got the idea that I was and told her attorney that I was laundering money and hiding income. It was more likely the heat of the moment, as divorce/custody battles often come down to. I couldn't even afford my own attorney, so I represented myself. Her lawyer wasn't a total ass, but he clearly was out to get me, and he talked down to me like I didn't deserve to breathe the same air. One day, I get a letter in the mail from him requesting an updated income declarations form and 3 years of financials. It had a long-ass list of things to include. I own a communications tech company that was in super startup phase back then. Money was already tight. I was trying to get this business off the ground with no financing. I was finishing my MBA with scholarships and loans, so paying for copies and postage or driving this 30 miles to his office meant eating peanut butter and saltines for a week. So I called him to explain my situation. He all but called me a liar and didn't believe I couldn't afford it. I was put off by that, and I said this was taking time away from business I needed to handle. To which he replied, and I'll never forget this, "Well, according to your income declarations, you're not that busy. What do you do all day?" He then said if he didn't get these documents, he would consider my previous filings as fraudulent, tell the judge, contact the DA, and also alert the state tax agency and IRS. Probably an empty threat, but I'm no lawyer. A fax is one of the services my company provides, and at this time it was relatively unknown. So I asked him if he has a fax machine. He said he had a fax/scanner/copier device, then said what law office doesn't have a fax machine? And I suddenly got an idea. "Okay," I said to him, "I'll put together and fax whatever I can." "Okay, mother trucker. You want 3 years of financials? You got it." I scanned to PDF every receipt I could find. McDonald's receipt from 5 years ago? Fudge it. Won't hurt to include it. CVS receipt? It's 3 miles long. Perfect. They get the one-off toothpaste coupons too. I downloaded every bank statement, credit card statement, purchase orders from vendors, and every invoice I sent to clients. I printed to PDF the entire 3-year accounting journal, monthly/quarterly/annual balance sheets, cash flow statements, P&Ls. Not only did I PDF 3 years of tax filings, but every single letter I received from the IRS and state tax agency, including the inserts advising me of my rights. It took a while, but I was a few days ahead of the deadline. I made a cover page black background with white lettering. Wherever I could, I included separator pages in all caps in the biggest, boldest font that would fit on the page in landscape. 20xx receipts, 20xx taxes, etc. I merged everything into a single 150-plus page, compressed PDF, and sent the document using my fax system. Every hour or so, I received a status email saying the fax failed. That's weird. Well, they're getting this document. So I changed the system configuration to unlimited retries after failures to keep redialing until it went through. Weird, I was still getting status email failures. I'll delete the failure emails and keep the success one after it eventually goes through, I thought. Problem solved. 2 days later, a lady from his office called and asked me to stop sending the fax. Their fax/scanner/printer/copier had been printing nonstop. It kept getting paper jams, kept running out of ink, and they had to keep shutting it off and back on to print. I explained that her boss told me to send this by the deadline, or else he would call the DA and IRS. Since I didn't want a call from the DA or the IRS, I would keep sending until I get a success confirmation. I suggested they just not print until my fax completes, but she didn't like that. She asked me to email the documents, and I told a little white lie that my email wouldn't allow an attachment that big, unless her boss in writing agreed to cancel the request or agree to reimburse me for my costs to print and ship. I said I would continue to fax until they confirm they have received every page. She put me on hold, and the attorney gets on the line. He said forget sending the financials. I said that I would need this in writing, so I will keep sending the fax until he sent that to me. He asked me to stop faxing and he would send it in writing, and I said send it in writing first and then I'll stop. Long moment of silence. Click. About 20 minutes later, I received an email from his assistant with an attached, signed letter in PDF that I no longer needed to provide financials. The letter then threatened to pursue sanctions in court or sue me for interfering with their business. Every time I saw him after that, the lawyer never brought up sanctions, lawsuits, criminal referrals, or financials again. Edit. All these awards and the Reddit front page? Y'all are too kind. Thank you.